What is going on, guys? MJ105 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys the news roundup for December 2020 on Gundam news as a whole, because there really isn't too many Gunpla announced in this month, but a lot of action figures, so let's just get right into it. So first of all, here we have Project Pale Rider. We can anticipate more details on the 7th of January 2021. So for those of you who are Pale Rider fans, look forward to this. But to me, the project has already began because of the reveal over here. Now, we did have the Pale Rider ground type, space type, and a Tots Ritter, but here we have another variant of the Pale Rider, the Pale Rider Cavalry. Now, it was announced alongside the humongous batch of news back in November, but that was just in a resin form. It doesn't have any color or anything, no details whatsoever, but the cavalry is here. We have this gigantic cannon over here, and I really do like the color scheme. Although it feels more like a patchwork more than anything, it still does look pretty good. And it is gonna be an April 2021 release for 2,420 yen. It does have opening missile pods, and it does have an included beam javelin, which is very nice. So for those of you who may have missed out on the magazine set that has the beam javelin for the original Gundam, this could be another way to get and steal that weapon from the Pale Rider Cavalry. Of course, it does have an amount of gimmicks in the weapons. I anticipate very good color separation apart from the missiles over here, but considering the fact that they could mold the missiles into the barrel of the beam rifle, maybe the missiles are going to be color separated. But at least we now know that the missile pods are functional, unlike some of the other high grades back in the day. And of course, we do have the ye old shield that uses all stickers to make up the colors, unfortunately. And we do have the Hyper Beam Rifle that uses stickers for the scope, unfortunately. I don't know what this is, and we have a wire. I don't know much about the Pale Rider Cavalry, but looking at this, I'm definitely hooked. Not as hooked as to die for this thing, but yep, I'm hooked on the design. And it does, of course, come with the exam system visor pieces and the eyes, so you can pick and choose during the build. Next up, and this is a white screen, we have action figures. The Gundam Universe line is still going on, to my surprise, because to me it already has died already. I don't care about that line, but to go along with the RX-78-2, now we have the Sharz Zaku II. Finally, we can create the traditional duo yet again in another form. The Zaku does look pretty good, and of course it's paired with the RX-78-2 right here. We do have a moving eye gimmick, which is very nice. I think it's gonna be like those high grades that has the peg underneath the head for you to move it. So yeah, at least we have a moving eye. It does look pretty good, and it is a May 2021 release for 3,300 yen. So if you guys are still into the Gundam Universe line, if you guys still are aware that it is still going on, you can definitely go ahead and pick this up to complete the duo. Next up, we have the Gundam Universe Sandrock. So of course, this is going to be upscaled to match with the standard sizes of the Gundam Universe figures. I'm trying my best not to say kits. So yeah, we have the third of the 5 Gundams from Gundam Wing. I must admit that this thing does look pretty cool. I feel like this has an edge over the high grade for some reason, mostly probably because of the sharpened tips of the heat shuttles. So it does give it a pretty good aesthetic, and I don't know if you can combine it into the Cross Crusher, just because from my knowledge, I think action figures do sometimes omit some signature features, but I'm not really too sure on this front. The Cross Crusher isn't really shown on the preview photos over here, but as far as I know, this thing does look pretty nice, and I can anticipate a very nice looking box art to go along with it. But the one thing I'm not a fan of is the Gundam Universe New Gundam. This is much more of a mistake than every single other New Gundam variant apart from the STEX standard to be released. Because this thing only has one functioning fin funnel. Now, I'm not gonna pull out the old high grade and say that it has 6 functioning funnels, so all of the high grades have to match that, or else I will be disappointed. But the fact of the matter is, even the high new Gundam Bandai has cut serious corners on that thing. And of course, we had the fake new armor. That thing has 2 functioning funnels. I would have accepted at least 2. But this thing only has the 1. For some stupid reason. Like, you're releasing this thing in May for 3,300 yen. That's already kind of like Robot Damashi prices. And please tell me in the comments below whether or not the Robot Damashi new Gundam, if that even exists, has the same issue. Or has Bandai cut corners on that one? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it only has 1 functioning fin funnel. I don't know if the stand comes with it though. Most likely not, because it does have some custom screws to screw in the joints. And it doesn't look like it comes with any of the other arsenal. You don't get the beam rifle from the looks of it, and you don't get the shield, or else they would have shown it off. You only get the hyper beam saber and the 1 funnel. So, to top it all off, this thing I will absolutely recommend against it. Like, if you want a Gundam Universe looking new Gundam on your shelf, maybe go ahead for that. And pray to God that a Gundam Universe version of the Sazabi will be released later on. But to me, no, absolutely not. This thing is the biggest mistake that Bandai has ever made. Now, to relax upon this a little bit, we have the Metal Robot Damashi Force Impulse Gundam. It's going to be a 14,300 yen release in May of 2021. Now, this thing, I never expected this thing to come with the Excalibur, just to stab right into the Freedom Gundam's nuclear reactor. Of course, we know what happens next, but yeah, the Force Impulse Gundam, by no doubt, looks awesome. And as much as I hate this battle and as much bull as this battle contains, this is still a pretty awesome scene to replicate. Like, man, I cannot believe that they actually implemented the parts to stab the Excalibur through the Freedom Gundam. I never expected them to include the Excalibur at all, let alone the effect parts to create the battle between the Freedom and the Impulse. So, if that's your thing, go ahead. But the Force Impulse Gundam over here does still stand up to metal build standards, looking absolutely phenomenal. Next up, I had never seen this coming. I didn't see this coming even after building the Gundam Zeltsam and the Gundam Tertium. Of course, I'm joking. This is the Gundam Mark III. It's a P Bandai release for 2,200 yen in April of 2021. So, the long-awaited Gundam Mark III has finally arrived in the Gunpla market. And I have to say, it does look alright, to say the least. I won't say that it looks good, I won't say that it looks bad, but it does share a lot of the parts that are used in the Tertium and the Zeltsam because it is based off of it. But unfortunately, I never expected this thing to be a P Bandai. Half of me expected it to be fair, but half of me expected this thing to be an actual retail release. Just because the Justice Knight was based off of the Infinite Justice, which came after the fact, and it was a regular release. So it only kind of makes sense in my head that this will be a regular release, but it's not. Luckily for you, Bandai, I'm not really too big of a fan of the Gundam Mark III, and judging from the previous experiences that I had with the Zeltsam and the Tertium, I am not going to be picking this kit up. So, this thing does come with the beam rifles and the beam sabers, and it looks as though it does come with some hyper beam sabers for the thumbs up holding hands to work. Thank God it's not a waste of plastic, but it does also serve as a hand to support the beam rifle, which for some of you more creative people out there, kudos to you, because I seriously never have thought about supporting the beam rifle. I would plan to have him dual wield, and thank God the extra cartridges can be stored under the shield. And we do have some pretty nice looking boosters and basically the Tertium Gundam's arsenal, but with the hyper beam sabers and the custom made shield. So for those of you who really want to see the Gundam Mark III in your collection in high grade form, this is the kit to get. But beware, it's not going to have the best in articulation, it's not going to have the best in structural integrity for what I can tell from my past experiences. But if you just want a pretty good looking suit on your shelf, this is the one to get. Last but not least, we do have the P Bandai Gundam The Origin RX-7802 Gundam rollout colors that is going to be released in the same month, April 2021, for 2,600 yen. Now, this is basically the RX-7802 Gundam colored in the, what is it called? The first lot new Gundam colors. I remember that's what it's called, without the V-fin and with 2 antennas coming up from the back of the head. That's basically it. And of course, we do have the handlebars and the early type beam rifle and the bazooka. And of course, you do have the beam sabers. And you can see a lot of detail. The RX-7802 Gundam is definitely a fundamentally good kit. So, this version, if you are a fan of it, I will definitely recommend you guys to go ahead and pick it up. Plus, this thing being based off of the original RX-7802 Gundam that has 2 different forms, parts to make both forms, you can absolutely, from what I can tell, make your own form of the RX-7802 Gundam with the new parts. But honestly, the only new part in this kit is the head. So yeah, if you prefer this color scheme over the traditional one, you guys have something to anticipate. Somebody is asking, does it include the flatbed? I don't think it does. This is probably just a display, but I would not be surprised if they actually included the flatbed. So tell me what you guys think about the Origin Gundam in the rollout colors. So that's gonna wrap it up for me for the news roundup. Not a lot of news in this month, but as I did state, oh my god, the Gundam Universe new Gundam is just horrible. But if I were to pick up any of these, the one I'm most inclined to get is either the Pale Rider Cavalry or the Gundam Mark III. So, judging from past experiences, I will go ahead and pick up the Pale Rider Cavalry if I were to pick one of these up. So tell me in the comments below what you think about this video. Tell me what you think about the upcoming releases. Which one of these would you pick up yourself? And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.